Welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Masters in Masters in Anatomy and Neurobiology at Boston University School of Medicine. I'm Ann Zumwalt. I'm the graduate program director, and to my right is Dr. Linda Fifi.
Yes, I'm Linda Fifi, and I am the Master's Student Advisor, who's one of the faculty members here as well.
And
I'm Renee DeVivo. I'm a second-year PhD student, but I previously completed the Vasila program before going on to my PhD.
Excellent. So we're going to do a little overview of the program. We're going to try to do a little overview of the program. So this is a key program personnel that you can look up any of these people's names to get more information about the program when you apply, if you're interested in applying. This is me. This is Dr. Afifi. And then Dr. Lupke is our chair, and Melissa and Salvine are very, very helpful people who you could contact by email if you so choose. So just a quick overview of our program. The goal of our program, which is again in anatomy and neurobiology, is to provide trainees with both the scientific and research base to become biomedical researchers, and to provide the opportunity for trainees to develop strong teaching skills, which is something we really value here in our department. So the goal of students who graduate from our program tend to be either going on to get a PhD in a similar field. Some students go on to medical school, and others will go on to teaching at the graduate level. The program itself is 32 credits total. It's a rigorous program as far as coursework goes, especially in the first year, where the students take cadaver-based gross anatomy, which means they're taking gross anatomy where they dissect a human body along with the medical students at Boston University School of Medicine. They also take the medical neurosciences course with the medical students, and then do pretty extensive graduate level coursework in our field, in anatomy and neurobiology. It is unique to our program that our students get to participate in the medical school classes. And then the other part of our program that's really unique is the training and teaching, because again, that's a skill that a lot of biomedical scientists need, but aren't necessarily trained in graduate school. And so our department has decided that that's an important thing to be able to provide for our students. So we have coursework in teaching, and then a lot of really on the ground practical teaching experience, both in those courses that we talked about, and then some one-on-one mentoring style experiences. And then the other really important part of our program is that we have a laboratory-based thesis requirement. So students get placed in real scientific laboratories and do research in those laboratories mostly in the summer and then the second year, and then produce a master's thesis at the end. You want to talk about the teaching program?
Sure. So teaching is one of the pillars of our program. It's essential in the master's degree that we go through the Vasila program, which we'll talk about in the next slide. The master's candidates, they have to complete about 40 hours of teaching under practicum. So they'll have a mentor, and they'll be part of a course, one of our courses in the department, where they'll be supervised and trained to teach other graduate students or medical students. And this is a requirement that's usually fulfilled within the first spring of their second year of study. So for the Vasila Certificate, the requirements are that you would have to take one of our core courses here, which is the Medical Growth Anatomy course, which involves lecture-based learning and cadaveric dissection experience. And then also our medical neuroscience course. And then once you take these two core classes, you would go on to take 3 of the Vasila classes. So in the first spring of your program here, you should take maybe the second year, you would take the Foundations in Teaching of Biomedical Sciences. That's really where you're learning how to teach, and then that's going to move you on to the second part, where you have a teaching apprenticeship where you take on a project that's supervised by a Vasilia's committee, and then you would take your project and translate that in the medical school class or whatever course that you choose to do that in. And then the third one is really where you would do the 40 hours of teaching under supervision, where you're essentially on your own teaching for dental students or medical students and so forth. So the research requirements, which is the second pillar of our program, is focused on neuroscience research and or anatomy research. So this involves an actual participation in a lab. So you would have to find a mentor within the department or outside the department as well, but within the BU rubric. And you would have to conduct laboratory research. And you'd have to find this lab by the end of your second semester. So you'll still be a first year, but in that second semester, you would have to find a lab. And usually during that first year, you as students would have met a lot of our faculty members multiple times. So you'll have an idea of their research and what it would be like to work with them. And there are some potential opportunities to present your research, such as within BU, we have 2 achievement days, or we also have an education day. And depending on your mentor, you maybe also have the opportunity to present at a conference here, locally or in somewhere else in the United States. And so I think we'll leave it at that. Dr. Zumwalt to my left, or maybe to your right, is our graduate program director. And she will, I guess, take your incoming questions. And if you need to reach me as well, you can find my email on the website. And Selvine is our program director. And any questions on prerequisites or admission, you can contact Patty Jones.
So we have a student here who has already completed the master's program and is still a PhD student in our program. Very familiar with the requirements and the experience here. So feel free to direct any questions to her or any of us. We are here to serve. Please feel free to type your questions in. I don't know if that's clear. Do you want to talk a little bit about the student experience?
Sure. So I joined the program, it would have been the fall of 2016. So as Dr. Afifi and Dr. Zumwalt mentioned, it began with the medical course classes, which were anatomy and medical neuroscience. So that occurred throughout the fall. And then in the spring, I took the teaching class, as well as a professional skills class and a variety of other classes, just kind of like electives, to try to hone in on what my research interests were. And then I quickly began working in an MRI imaging lab, which was my interest. So I continued through that through the summer and through the second year. The second year, I continued to take coursework and fulfilled my teaching requirement by doing a section of the medical anatomy, which was it was really a great experience doing it again, because I think so much you learn the first year and then you really solidify it in your mind the second year, and you have to figure out a way to communicate it and teach it to others, which I think is really like the demonstrating how you've learned or if you've learned. So it was pretty critical. And then I also did a teaching project for the medical neuroscience course that was employed the next year for those students. So that was my Vasilia's completion. And then in regards to my research, I did present a poster at the Henry Ressick Day that was mentioned. I actually did that both years and then was able to make that research into a publication.
I didn't know that. Good job. Do you want to talk about your perspective of the research opportunities here?
Sure. So I think the research opportunities are really great. It's nice that, I mean, the first semester you really don't think about that too much because you are so focused on anatomy, but the department does a good job of one, I mean, the faculty are listed on the website. You can get a pretty good idea of what everyone's doing. And then we do different activities like speed dating, where each faculty member presents their research, talks about projects, how you could fit in. And then you're welcome to like go to rotations to try to see each lab, understand how that mentor works, and do a little bit of work here and there. And then once you join, I mean, you're just pretty much part of the lab. You get the opportunity to work with the PhD students, and you get pretty close mentoring from the PI. But in general, there is a wide variety within the program, and then it's pretty easy to go with outside the program if there's different areas of neuroscience that you're interested in.
Right. So there are all sorts of, you could think of neuroscience as a really broad field. And within our department, there are opportunities to do everything from cellular molecular type work to behavioral type work. People study things like Alzheimer's and aging, and even some like human behavior stuff that's more about like the effect of exercise on the brain, for example. So obviously our website is the place to go to get a really good sense of what the opportunities are, but the sort of core thing that unites all of us is that we the research tends to be the anatomy of the neuro system, the anatomy of the brain and the system, and then as opposed to more like the physiology, which is there, but it's not the main thrust of our department. And then of course there's anatomy of the whole body as well, and there are some opportunities there as well.
And I guess just an idea of some of our last year's master's students. Some of them went on to become PhD students, and one of them we just heard back from is in PA school. We have students that went into med school as well. So it's a track that could take you, if it's sort of something you're looking for a stepping stone to another graduate degree. It's definitely helped students in that way. And also a lot of our master's students have gone on to do research and teaching as well. So
I know one of our recent master's students actually, she took a job locally working for an anatomy app. So it's kind of more like an industry position, but it's like she was very interested in anatomy. So now she's working for a program that like designs tools to help teach anatomy. So like that's an interesting option as well.
Yeah. And then of course there are a lot of opportunities to work in industry in Boston. So there, it's not uncommon for people to get jobs as research techs of various sorts in these labs once they graduate, if they don't want to pursue further schooling once they're done. So basically we see ourselves as providing the foundations for a lot of different potential paths for our graduates, and that's sort of something we intentionally do. We want our students to graduate as well-rounded scientists who have real scientific experience, but also real teaching experience and the opportunity to pursue any number of career paths or further schooling. Yeah, there's a question about the prerequisites for getting into the program. The primary thing we look at is the person's basically previous schooling or education in science, because what we want to see is that you are able to do well in science courses, because especially the first year is so rigorous. We don't want people to struggle with what you have to be able to accomplish in the program. So the prerequisites are technically the prerequisites are you have to have a college degree, and then we look at your GPA and what science classes you've taken and that you've performed strongly in those. Those are the primary things. It is nice to see people who have research experience before, but it's not required, because we see ourselves as providing that for our students. Any other requirements?
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's nice that it's flexible, that we've had people come in that have studied more like physiology, or even I think someone was an anthropology major, but they had a biology background. So like there's no one major that you have to be part of the program. It's just what your experience is.
Right. question is, do you have to take any GRE or MCAT exams?
No, we do not accept or we do not require the GRE
Yeah.
or MCAT anymore.
We just this year stopped requiring the GRE. We used to require GRE or MCAT, either one, but actually we don't anymore. So not a requirement. I also want to highlight our Twitter handle down here, which is a Instagram handle, because that's a fun thing to follow if you're on Instagram, to get a little sense of the personality of our department. We don't have Twitter, right?
Not yet.
No Twitter yet, just Instagram. If there aren't any, well, our internet connection is unstable. Hi, we're still here. I don't know if you guys can see us. We are thinking of wrapping this up unless you guys have any further questions, either for us, the directors, or for our students here. So get your questions in now if you have any. If you think of something later on, the people that you see on the screen right now are the ones to contact with just any questions at all. I'm the one to talk to about sort of the more general philosophy of the program. If you have any kind of practical questions about applications, or again, prerequisites, anything like that, anybody on the screen can answer those questions. Do you have any final thoughts?
I don't think so.
Are you happy here in the program?
Yes, it is a very good program. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone on to stay here, but I definitely wanted to. There's so many great people to learn from, and everyone, it's a very cohesive, happy environment, I would say, to be a part of.
Good. Dr. Phoebe?
I was going to say, if you're not from Boston, I think this is a great place to come and spend your years as a master's student. There's a lot of, the location of the campus is great. You have a good community here at BU, and in the city, you'll find a lot of great things to do, learn from, have fun, and our winters aren't so bad anymore.
Our winters are delightful.
Yeah, it's barely snowed.
It's barely snowed. All right, thank you guys for your attention, and for those of
There's
you,
a question.
oh, there's a question. How
Oh.
many letters of recommendation do you require? I believe the requirement is 3 letters of recommendation. And that's on the website too, if you want to double check anything about that type of requirement. And just for letters of recommendation, it's nice to see from somebody who you have either worked with, if you have research experience, or work with closely in a class, in a course. So a teacher who you've worked closely with. That's ideal, not required, but ideal. Okay. Oh, another one. Yeah, the question is, who can your letters come from? They can absolutely come from your supervisors. Basically, what we want to see from your letters of recommendation are people who can either talk about you as a person professionally, so the type of worker you are. So in the context of looking at letters from your supervisors, they can comment on your responsibility and the type of work that you do and the type of roles that you've played. And then if they come from your teachers, they can talk about your proactiveness in class, your thoughtfulness, obviously how well you did in the class. But the letters are more about you as a person. So anybody who can comment on that in a professional setting, you're welcome to submit letters from those types of people. We can see your grades on your transcript, so that's less important for us to hear about in letters. All right, any final questions? All right, thanks guys for your attention, and to those of you in the future, we hope to meet you at some point. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.